Let our hearts not be hardened to those living on the margins. There is room at the table for everyone. This is where it all begins. This is how we gather in. There is room at the table for everyone. Too long we have wandered, burdened and undone, but there is room at the table for everyone. Let us sing the new world in. This is how it all begins. There is room at the table for everyone.
In the midst of the darkness and despair of the pandemic, love hopes for vaccinated safety for everyone, not just for some. Love believes that all people, especially those living in the most vulnerable countries, deserve the same chance for hope and life as anyone else. Seeing the great need for life-saving vaccines around the world, Love acts to bring an equitable distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine. Love says, let our hearts not be hardened toward those living on the margins. There's room at the table for everyone. Are you tired of the pandemic? Tired of surges, spikes, closed restaurants, and restricted gatherings? Are you tired of feeling hopeless and helpless against this pandemic? We have good news. You, yes, you, can help end the pandemic and move us all toward a more stable economic and social life again. It is possible, and in a few minutes, we'll tell you how. Many people of every faith and tradition have prayed and asked our Creator what we can do to end this nightmare. And those with no specific faith tradition have also cried out for mercy and help. Help not just for some who are privileged to have vaccines free and readily available, but really for everyone. As people of faith who see the global inequity in the access to COVID-19 vaccines, we asked our Creator, what is your plan for dealing with this great vaccine injustice toward the millions of our most vulnerable siblings all around the world?
Greetings, my name is Dan Fink. I am the rabbi at Congregation Ahavath Beth Israel, the Jewish synagogue in Boise, and I've been here for approaching 30 years. I appreciate the opportunity to be here to share why my Jewish tradition teaches the importance of getting vaccinated and enabling others to get vaccinated. There are two primary Jewish principles that move us to do this work. The first is the notion of human beings being created B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God. This reminds us that every person, wherever they live, whoever they are, is created in God's image and is therefore due the same inherent dignity. And part of that dignity is the right to health care. So we believe that we have an obligation to work so that everyone, wherever they are in the world, is treated as a creature created in the image of God, and that means keeping them safe. The second principle we call pikuach nefesh, which means literally the saving of a soul. This is to say that in Jewish tradition, saving life and preserving health is of utmost importance. According to our tradition, there are 613 mitzvot, or commandments, in the Torah. But we can violate all of them save idolatry, adultery, and murder for the purpose of saving life and preserving health. It is of utmost importance. Torah tells us that we are given these commandments, chai behem, to live by them. And so we are obligated and impelled to do all that we can to preserve life and health for others and for ourselves. This is the way we love our neighbors as ourselves. We need to love ourselves and care for ourselves and extend that same love and care to our neighbors wherever they are in the world.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Dr. Saeed Ahmed Saeed. I'm an engineering professor at Boise State University. My wife and I have lived here in the Boise area for 25 years, over 25 years. So we wanted to give a message to Boise and the rest of the community, as well as to the world, as to the importance of having the entire world vaccinated. So as we have seen recently, when a new variant of this COVID arises in South Africa, no border can stop it from reaching the United States. So it is very important that we, the rich countries, help the poor countries get vaccinated and stop this pandemic. Another reason for vaccinating everyone in the world is the golden rule. Our prophet, peace be upon him, said, none of you will truly believe until he loves for his neighbor what he loves for himself. Just like I want to be protected from this virus by being vaccinated, I want my neighbors in the rest of the world to be vaccinated and stop the propagation of this dangerous virus. Another reason for vaccinating the rest of the world is saving human lives. The Quran says, whoever saves a human life, it is as if he has saved all of humanity. So saving human lives with this vaccine will save humanity. So we have a vaccine that is effective and safe. And let us please help the poor countries get vaccinated.
I'm President Marty Nygaard of the Idaho-Boise Mission of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm part of the Boise community as our missionaries, our full-time missionaries. We have 180 young sisters and elders who serve in the community and teach about Christ. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has really important missions in the world and in our community here in Boise. One of those missions is to come to Christ and assist in God's work by caring for those in need. And right now, as you all know, we have a great need in our community and in the world to help people who are experiencing the ravages of the COVID-19 pandemic. One of those aspects is, of course, to vaccinate as many people as we can to protect the world. Our prophet and president of our church, Russell M. Nelson, over the past few years has encouraged us and all people of faith to pray and even fast for miracles that we can overcome this pandemic. We believe strongly as members of the church that the COVID vaccines that are available, that are safe and effective, are part of those answers to prayer and fasting. And they're one way that we can follow our Savior, Jesus Christ, and protect our neighbors and friends. There's great inequity among people throughout the world as far as their ability to get those vaccines. And we're so grateful for the United Methodist Church and the Love Beyond Borders project that is allowing us to join together and help people in Africa, in South America, in Asia, throughout the world where less than 10% and even as low as 1% in some populations are being protected by the COVID vaccine. One of our scriptures in our church says that the Savior Jesus Christ does nothing save it will benefit the world. And we know that that includes these vaccines.
I'm Christy Darlene, and I moved to the Boise community just a few months ago to become the pastor at Hyde Park Mennonite Fellowship. And I was thrilled to learn about the Love Beyond Borders initiative to work towards vaccines distribution for all in our global community. As a Mennonite pastor, I hold to the teachings of Jesus to love our neighbors and work towards justice in the world. And I think that working towards justice is working towards just and equitable distributions of life-saving vaccines for all in this world. I think part of a global pandemic means a global response. And so I'm thrilled to join in this work of Love Beyond Borders, working with COVAX to distribute vaccines around the world.
Well, hello, I'm Mayor of Boise, Lauren McLean. We have all been through so much in the past 2 years. The pandemic created incredible challenges for this community, but I've also seen Boiseans time and time again step up to help each other in countless ways. If you haven't been vaccinated yet, that's a way you can step up right now. It'll protect you and your community from COVID-19. Also, please encourage your friends and neighbors to get vaccinated. And now we have an opportunity to step up and help people across the world by supporting the COVAX initiative. This is about making sure that the COVID vaccine is distributed equally throughout the globe. Worldwide access to vaccines offers the best hope for slowing the pandemic and saving many lives. You can engage your organization, your house of worship, your family, or your community to donate, communicate, or advocate for COVAX. For nations unable to afford vaccines, COVAX is literally a lifeline and the only way citizens will get access to these vaccinations. Together, we can keep our communities safe, along with communities around the world. Thank you so very much, and be well.
The answer came in a simple way, with a simple plan. This is the story of Love Beyond Borders, an interfaith movement to end the pandemic. A grassroots movement that originated in one little church in Boise, Idaho. We want to share how our Creator inspired ordinary people to take on this mission to end the pandemic, and how one church, Cathedral of the Rockies, Amity Campus, helped to make it happen. Our Love Beyond Borders, LBB campaign to build an interfaith movement to end the pandemic was inspired by the story of Love My Neighbor. It was a grassroots movement for vaccine equity and began with a woman of faith named Sarah Hildebrand, who lives in Ontario, Canada. Here's Sarah sharing that pivotal moment when it all began.
The genesis of the project Love My Neighbor began in November 2020. I was reading in the book of Matthew about Jesus miraculously feeding a crowd of 4,000 with 7 loaves of bread and just a few fishes. And I found myself writing the following prayer in my journal that morning. Lord, how does this story connect with COVID-19 vaccines? What great plans do you have to multiply where we see shortage? Will you multiply the vaccines that we get in Canada? Will you multiply the ones we're able to pass on to developing countries? And to love our neighbors as ourselves, shouldn't we pass on every second vaccine that we receive here in Canada? Challenged by these questions I was asking, I started researching what the United Nations had planned for a vaccine rollout to developing countries. And I learned about the international partnership called COVAX, and that they had an ambitious plan to provide 1 billion doses to 500 million of the world's poor. I couldn't shake the simple math calculation that meant only 12% of the poorest half of the globe would receive their dose of vaccine in 2021. And I thought to myself, not on my watch. This can't be. The world needs people of faith, people of courage and justice and compassion to arise and say, not on our watch, we won't let this happen. And then with feet on the ground to act together.
We know scientifically that fewer vaccinations in a group of people increase the risk of additional COVID mutations continuing to happen over and over again for years to come. It's been said that this pandemic will not end for anyone until it ends for everyone. So in order for it to end for us, millions more vaccine doses need to get to those who need them the most. But how?
As we reached out in faith communities and through organizations and just into Canadian society generally, we found that it really resonated with Canadians to gift forward or pay forward the vaccine that they would receive for free here in Canada to a global neighbor who wouldn't receive it as quickly as they would.
Okay, that's all great, you might be thinking, but that's Canada. How did our little church, Cathedral of the Rockies, Amity Campus in Boise, Idaho, start a vaccine equity campaign? Well, that's an interesting story. While Sarah's LMN campaign got underway in Canada, our mission team at Cathedral of the Rockies Amity campus was already involved with pandemic relief efforts, including distributing 20,000 face masks at Boise schools, shelters, service groups, and food banks. But we really wanted to do more. We began asking ourselves, what else can we do? As a missions team, we had a heart for people in the most vulnerable countries who were dying because their governments couldn't afford to buy the life-saving COVID-19 vaccine for their people. We really wanted to see more vaccine equity from our government and other wealthy nation governments. Could we at Cathedral of the Rockies do something to get more vaccines delivered to our siblings in the most vulnerable countries of the majority world? The missions team had been discussing how to respond to the pandemic, and we were very aware of how the pandemic was compounding all the other crises in the world. From the earthquake response in Haiti, the conflict in Ukraine, Ebola and civil war in the DRC, and hunger in China, Africa, and elsewhere, everything was being made worse by the pandemic. Dr. David Bone, one of the leaders of our missions team and the former director of relief at World Evangelical Alliance, had a conversation with a colleague at WEA, Christine McMillan. Christine shared Sarah's story about Love My Neighbor with him and introduced him to Sarah. David then invited Sarah and Christine to meet with Cathedral of the Rockies missions team in March of 2021. After that meeting, the entire missions team was inspired to begin our own grassroots campaign to end the pandemic by raising $1 million to buy vaccines for our siblings in the most vulnerable countries. David took the missions team vision to raise $1 million for vaccines to Pastor Dwayne Anders, the senior pastor at Cathedral of the Rockies.
Well, Love Beyond Borders was a no-brainer when the idea came up within the church because as followers of Jesus, one of the first things we want to do is love God with our heart, soul, mind, and strength, love our neighbor as ourselves. And yep, we can get the vaccine so easily here in our country, but we know not all of our neighbors can. So one of the ways to love our neighbors is to make sure the vaccine is accessible, available, and the treatments can go to everyone around the world so we can end this pandemic.
Pastor Dwayne was inspired by the missions team's ambitious goal to raise $1 million, and he immediately put his full support behind the effort. David knew that a campaign of this scope needed to rally the larger church congregation, and he wanted some advice from someone who knew how to do that. During the UMC Global Ministries campaign, Imagine No Malaria, he had connected with Emily Crone, team chair of Abundant Health, who had engaged the larger church for that particular campaign. He reached out to Emily about our concern for vaccine equity and our goal to raise $1 million to buy vaccines for our most vulnerable siblings in majority world. Emily was inspired by LBB's vision, and she subsequently joined our LBB team. She helped us understand how to work with the larger congregation. Because of David's ongoing involvement with the World Health Organization and other global missions agencies, he was aware that UNICEF is one of the largest purchasers of all types of vaccines for children. Now, their mission focuses on the pandemic, and they have partnered with COVAX in its effort for equitable distribution of COVID-19 vaccines. David reached out to UNICEF USA about our vision to raise $1 million to purchase COVID-19 vaccines for vulnerable countries, and UNICEF assigned a team to work with us, led by Alex, the manager of Global Cause Partnerships. UNICEF became a valuable partner in this campaign, even offering to create the Interfaith Movement to End the Pandemic website to receive online donations for us. At that point, with Pastor Dwayne's blessing, we moved forward, forming Love Beyond Borders, an interfaith movement to end the pandemic known as LBB, as a vehicle to raise $1 million and to recruit other faith leaders and community leaders to join us in this effort. We quickly realized that we needed help to make donating easy for people and to get the word out to our UMC siblings about LBB's campaign. Inspiration and vision are important, but our creator's plan still required an implementation strategy to make it happen. What has made the rapid growth of LBB possible is the church, Cathedral of the Rockies, and denominational support and infrastructure. We have been able to plug into that existing structure rather than having to figure out how to create it ourselves. LBB developed quickly because the church leadership got behind it and helped to promote it. Our grassroots LBB campaign developed into a partnership coalition of supporting agencies, such agencies like UMC Global Ministries, UMC Abundant Health Network in the USA, and UNICEF USA. Kathleen Griffith, project contact of UMC's Global Ministries for the Abundant Health Project, was inspired by our vision and our $1 million goal, and she became a quick supporter of the LBB campaign. She suggested we begin the administrative process to get LBB designated as an advance by the UMC General Board of Global Ministries. An advance is a special designation for a giving campaign that allows for 100% of your donations to go directly to that campaign. Emily agreed that getting designated as an advance was an important part to guarantee that donations from our UMC siblings would be used 100% for vaccine equity. She agreed to take on the task of getting LBB the advanced designation, and Emily knew how to navigate and complete the detailed application. She diligently shepherded our request through the whole process to final approval. We are grateful that Love Beyond Borders, the interfaith movement to end the pandemic, has officially been designated as an advance, and 100% of your donations will go directly toward purchasing COVID-19 vaccines for distribution to our most vulnerable siblings in the majority world. We'll talk you through your first LBB advance donation in just a minute, so be prepared for that. LBB's campaign is important to not just Cathedral of the Rockies, but also to the greater church. As Bishop Elaine Stanovsky, Episcopal leader of the greater Northwest area of the United Methodist Church, said in a recent interview for Global Ministries, United Methodists in the Northwest have been saving lives by fighting COVID-19 for more than a year now. But it was hard to know how to extend our love for Christ and one another beyond local communities to neighbors around the world. Love Beyond Borders is a grassroots campaign envisioned by one member of one church in the Oregon-Idaho Conference. Now, as an advanced project within the United Methodist Church, working with interfaith partners and UNICEF USA, it offers a beautiful way to protect and save lives around the world. So much support by so many people. Our Creator's provision thus far in this campaign is really humbling to us. But our Creator's biggest provision to reach our goal, our Creator's simple plan to end the pandemic, is in your participation. It's you, it's me, it's really all of us, working this simple plan together, recognizing our privilege in receiving our free vaccines, and in gratitude for that gift, paying it forward to those people who really do need it in majority world areas. Love Beyond Borders invites you to donate for vaccines, but also to get involved by raising awareness and advocating for COVAX. Here's the life-saving reality of what your donation can mean, direct from UNICEF USA. $19.50 vaccinates 10 people with 2 doses of the vaccine. $1,000 vaccinates 250 people with 2 doses of the vaccine. $1 million vaccinates 250,000 people with 2 doses of the vaccine. $150 could provide 3,000 syringes, which will be used to administer the COVID-19 vaccine to recipients. $210 could provide 10 portable vaccine carriers for the safe transportation of vaccines that enables a health worker to deliver the critical vaccines where needed. $11,000 could provide 6 oxygen concentrators. $1 million could provide the safe transport of 25 million doses of vaccines within a low-income country. So if you're inspired by LBB's vision to raise $1 million for vaccines and you're ready to help LBB end the pandemic now, we want to give you a chance to do that today. The need is urgent, so our request for you to help to get life-saving vaccines to our most vulnerable siblings must also be urgent. Remember, we all want our lives back, but the pandemic won't end for any of us until it ends for all of us. This is an opportunity, not arm twisting. No gift is too small, really. Every dollar helps. But if this isn't a good time for you to donate, be at peace about it. Please pray for LBB and our missions team during this time. Enjoy our special soundtrack music and donate when you can. All right, are you ready to get involved? Maybe make your first donation to LBB? Here are some options. We'll give you a few minutes to decide what you want to do and actually make your first donation. Online, you'll need your credit card or PayPal account information. You can go to UNICEF's website directly at www.unicefusa.org/interfaith movement. Below the picture, click on Select Affiliation and select yours. Choose Other if you are unaffiliated or yours is not listed. Then, click the big red Donate Now button. Follow the on-screen prompts to complete your donation, and in just a couple of minutes, you've helped save someone's life. Really, it's that amazing. If you're a United Methodist, don't forget to click your faith affiliation as Methodist. And after you make your donation, you'll have a prompt to enter more details about your affiliation. Put in Methodist advance number 3022671. If you prefer to write a check, please ask your faith leader or community leader how to designate your donation for LBB. You can also donate from your cell phone right now by sending a text. Text a dollar amount to 844-928-0529. Again, send your text to 844-928-0529. So, you've donated to help end the pandemic. That's great. Thank you so much. But it's really not the end of our work. It's just the beginning. Our Creator's plan to pay it forward is simple, but it's not easy. Engaging people in something where the fruits of their efforts play out far away and are hard to know about is difficult. It takes a lot of regular communication to keep supporters actively engaged. So once you've donated, you need to communicate our concern about the great need for vaccines in the majority world and LBB's campaign to help our most vulnerable siblings. You need to tell everyone you know about LBB. Your brothers or sisters, friends and work colleagues, your barber, your beautician, your professors, your teachers, and give them the www.unicefusa.org/interfaith movement website so they can pay it forward too. And then the third step, you need to advocate for vaccine equity for our most vulnerable brothers and sisters, just like you would advocate for a political campaign or anything else that's important to you. You need to take LBB's vaccine equity campaign to your community leaders, mayors, governors, and other elected officials at the local, county, and state level. Emails work great for that. You need to call and email your senators and representatives. As people of faith and people of goodwill, we can't just stand by and do nothing. So would you say it with me? Working together, we can end the pandemic. Believe it. Hope for it. Take action in love to make it happen. Donate, communicate, and advocate. We've already raised over $412,000, and we're thankful for every donation, large or small. We envision LBB extending into a multi-faith movement that will take on other challenges, building a lasting relationship with UNICEF and building strong local relationships with diverse faith traditions. All outcomes that will serve the Boise community for a long time to come. We invite you to join us in the ongoing adventure. Stay tuned for what's next.